NPC happiness. Happiness in Terraria provides price modifiers with your town NPCs. A happy NPC will give you up to a 25% discount on their goods, and you'll get a 33% increased money when selling items to them, while an unhappy NPC can add up to a 50% markup on their sold products, and they will give you 33% less money on items that you sell to them. Happiness also changes the amount of money the tax collector will store, as he can hold up to 33 gold when he's content. Happiness is determined by 3 factors: population, relationships, and location. Town NPCs do not like to be overcrowded. I can relate. They gain a bonus to their happiness score if there are no more than 2 NPCs within 25 blocks of their home. It's not just their immediate neighbors that are a factor, however, as if there are more than 3 NPCs within 120 tiles, they will lose that bonus. They get an overcrowded penalty if there are more than 3 NPCs within 25 blocks, or more than 4 NPCs within 120 blocks. The next factor that affects happiness is the quality of those neighbors living within the 25 block range. Every NPC has their own preference. An NPC will love some NPCs, like some others, but they'll also dislike or even hate some of the others. If you surround NPCs with others that they love, their happiness will drastically increase, while surrounding them with NPCs that they hate will make them extremely unhappy. This is a bit of a complex factor, as it isn't one-to-one. For example, the Goblin Tinkerer and Mechanic both love each other, but if you look at the Golfer and the Merchant, the Golfer hates the Merchant, but the Merchant actually likes the Golfer. So NPC relationships are a bit complicated and add quite a bit of nuance when setting up these villages. Thirdly, any good realtor will tell you that the most important part of a house is location, location, location. This concept carries somewhat into Terraria as well, as each NPC has their own preference of biome. Most NPCs will like one biome and dislike another, while feeling neutral about all the other locations. The only NPC that loves or hates a biome is Santa. The rest of them are not as picky. So now that we know how happiness works, I want to make 2 lists of NPCs today. The first one will be going over the community's recommended groupings based on the official Terraria wiki. Their priorities are geared more towards optimization and progression than they are to building, so I do want to include them, as this will probably be of interest to most of you. The second list of pairings will be my own personal choices of how I want to group up the NPCs, from the perspective of somebody that loves to build, as well as somebody who prioritizes location over discount. There are 4 final points that I want to touch on before I start pairing up the villagers. Firstly, I don't think it's possible to max out every single NPC's happiness at the same time. You can certainly make them all happy, but I don't believe you can get the maximum discount across the board at once. That said, no NPCs in this video will be unhappy, so everybody will be providing discounts. Second, the town pets and town slimes do not factor into NPC happiness at all. They are neither loved nor hated, and they do not count towards overcrowding. You can set up houses with all 11 pets and slimes living around a single town NPC, and that NPC will never feel overcrowded. So feel free to place these wherever you want, though as a bit of a side tip, the slimes and pets do count as town NPCs for pylons, so they can really help you out with that, if you end up having an NPC living on his own. Third, the biomes can overlap. For example, we can make the hallowed snow biome. If an NPC likes one half of the combination but dislikes the other, what exactly happens? Well, if there's a combination of the 2 biomes, the liked biome will always override the disliked in terms of priority. The nurse likes the hollow, but she dislikes the snow biome. She will be happy despite disliking the snow. The final point is that one NPC is not like the others. The princess loves all of the town NPCs, and while they don't love her back, she is liked by all of them in return. She also doesn't have any biome preferences, so she won't care where you move her. No matter who you group her with or where you place her, there will be a happiness increase with the princess as long as you're not reaching an overcrowding threshold. So with all of that in mind, let's take a look at the community's recommended pairings. On the wiki, the NPC Happiness Guide has a few different strategies for different stages of progression in your playthrough. For the sake of time, I'm just going to take a look at the list of NPC pairings when you have all of them unlocked. If you're curious about the different stages of progression, I'll leave a link to the wiki in the description. In the forest, they appear to recommend two separate situations. The merchant is moved into the forest on his own, next to no other NPC. Then they separate the zoologist and the golfer, moving them in together a little bit further away from the merchant. The reason behind this is because the golfer hates the merchant, and if they were living next to each other, it would hinder discounts. You can keep them in the same forest and even use them for the same pylon as long as their houses are more than 25 blocks away from each other, which feels perfectly reasonable to me. If you decide you want the merchant to be in a different forest and you want him to have a working pylon, you can move a town slime or pet into the house with him. That will allow the pylon to work. Moving beneath the surface, we have an underground hallow recommendation. It wants the tavern keep, who favors the hallow, and the demolitionist, who favors the underground, to live next to each other. No other NPCs should be moved into this location. On the surface hallow, the party girl and wizard really enjoy each other's company, so they'll be living up there together. Back underground, this time in the snow biome, the goblin tinkerer, mechanic, and princess will be sharing a cold subterranean town. In a bit of a temperature shock, we are heading over to the desert, where the nurse, dye trader, and arms dealer will be setting up shop. The next recommendation on the guide has a bit of a choice to it. We can either place this town in a desert, or we can build it on the surface of the snow biome. In that town, we'll be housing the steampunker and the cyborg. If you want a bigger discount from the steampunker, place the town in the desert. But if you're looking for a bigger cyborg discount, place them in the snow biome. Welcome to the jungle. We've got the dryad, painter, and witch doctor. Now it's time to take to the high seas and set up homes for the stylist, angler, and pirate. We are once again heading back to the snow biome to build a house for the tax collector, who fittingly lives in solitude. Just make sure to give him a pet if you want a working pylon nearby. Finally, the wiki places the guide, clothier, and truffle in the mushroom biome. It doesn't specifically say to place it underground, but I believe this is how you should be doing it, as the clothier prefers to be underground. Though you could still do this on the surface, you'll just get a slightly less discount from him. The only reason the guide is here is because he makes the truffle happy. Ultimately, the guide's happiness doesn't matter since he doesn't sell anything or offer any services that cost money, so discounts don't apply to him. And that's the entire optimized list of NPC pairings. Now, I personally don't set up towns in this way because I want to prioritize a few different NPCs, but more importantly, I want to set up towns in locations that I feel look the best. So now, let's take a look at my personal NPC groupings. When it comes to how I set things up, I'm going to try and make most of the NPCs relatively happy.
Would you like